So the third day, I couldn't sleep. I don't know. I was on adrenaline. I was tripping. So I just kind of posted up in the ER waiting room, and there was a lot of people there. Suge was outside, but David Kenner outside on the curb talking. Yaki Gaddafi was completely shattered. I think aside from his mom, Yasmin, Tupac was the most important person in his life, and he was broken. Yaki, bless his soul, he was broken. So I kind of posted up there. I think Jesse Jackson had come by, some other people came, Yo-Yo came by. I wasn't there when apparently, allegedly Snoop came by and broke down, and Afeni kind of stopped him from crying. But I was just sitting there, and this lady sat next to me, and she was asking me what was going on, and I was like, Tupac's in there, and he's not in good shape. And before I could say anything else, Molly Monjos, who was Tupac's then assistant, ran up and started grilling this lady. She's like, "Who are you? Why are you talking to Gobi?" And then she found out she was a reporter, and she kicked her out. So I almost got in trouble for that, but she kicked her out. And I had heard Molly had kicked out a preacher that was carrying a Bible, not knowing if he had a gun in the Bible or if he was someone there to harm Pac. But so the third day was, and then Afeni, bless her soul, she showed up, and as she walked through the ER waiting room, I kind of waved at her, and she nodded at me, and she was visibly broken. Yasmin and a few others, including Jamal, his cousin, they all went into a private room, a private waiting room, outside of the waiting room we were in. They met there for a little bit. Tracy went in there with them as well, and then came out, and then she went into the ICU or ER to see Tupac. And it was nuts, man. It was nuts. So the third day, after a couple of hours, I took off. I went to try to get a couple of hours of sleep, because then I wanted to be back for the night shift. So I came back, and the third night going into the morning of the fourth day, the ER waiting room was eerily empty. It was just me and a crusty old white security guard in the corner, and then the Outlaws outside in Tupac's white Land Cruiser. And so he still was in the first floor. He was on the first floor in a room that could be touched from the outside. So I grabbed Muta, and we ran out, and we rented a van. We parked it right in front of Tupac's room. And I should say that day also, Yasmin got into a huge fight with Vegas PD, because they didn't want the Outlaws to be parked there. They wanted them moved. So she got into a huge fight with them, and basically got them to stay where they were. So that was nuts. And then probably around 2 in the morning, there was a large, very large white nurse, sweetheart of a lady. She came out, and she knew I was there for Pac, and she said, "He's a fighter, that Tupac of yours." I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I almost lost him. I gave him 500 cc's. I don't know if it was adrenaline or what it was." And she said, "He came right back." And then she proceeded to tell me that he'd been in an induced coma from when they brought him in, because every time he would come to, he would pull his plugs out and try to get out of bed. And she explained that when someone is a victim of gun violence, gunshots. They wake up when they become conscious. They wake up at the scene of the crime, so they move. So, in order to protect his heart and to stop him from having seizures or a heart attack, they had him in an induced coma. So that was pretty much the third day and the morning of the fourth day. Tracy was also broken. Everyone that was close to Pac was broken because I think one, they couldn't believe they'd been shot again. And as much as I wanted him to live, I believe in God. I'm not a religious guy, but I believe in God. And I didn't think God would allow one of his tortured spirits to go through that twice and live. So I was, not that I was negative about Pac surviving, and I didn't go to see him until the fifth night. But what I was hearing from Tracy and others, he was in terrible shape. So that's it. That's pretty much all that I remember from the third day and going into the fourth morning.